just wanted to put down some thoughts I was having as I'm driving on the idea of fighting abortion by using what's called a heartbeat bill. Now, if you're not familiar with what a heartbeat bill is, a heartbeat bill is a bill that attempts to outlaw abortions after there's a detectable heartbeat in the child. And you'll hear this supported in various ways, but it's supported from, kind of the incrementalist tactic of let's just save as many lives as we possibly can. The implication of that being we don't really care how we do that. We just want to save lives, right? So, like, the greatest possible moral good is saving lives, which, we would say, well, it is good to save lives. We're not disagreeing with that. That's why we go stand outside of abortion mills, because we desire to save lives. So we think, even the very, very few lives that are saved at abortion mills is worth the time and effort to go do that. So we agree that it's important to save lives. But where we disagree is that it is actually the highest priority. The highest priority in our mind is being faithful to God and doing what He commands. Now, we believe that the result of doing that, being faithful to God and doing what He commands, will result in saved lives. But that is not preeminent in our priorities. God honors faithfulness often, and so that is, what's the chief end of man? The chief end of man is to love God and to enjoy Him forever, right? How do you love God and enjoy Him forever? Well, you obey Him. It's one of the ways that you can bring glory to God is by obeying Him and keeping His commands. And one of His commands to us as people who group ourselves together and try to govern ourselves and try to prevent evil is to do justice. That's one of His commands, to do justice. Specifically, when it talks about doing justice, it's love the good, hate the evil, and do justice. And it's specifically talking about justice for orphans and for widows and for strangers in your land. And now I'm being rained on as I drive. All right, we're back. The rain has ceased for now. But we would oppose the heartbeat bill, and as we would oppose other incremental bills as well. And there are reasons for that. People are shocked when we say that, and they don't understand. Like, why wouldn't you do everything you possibly could, anything at all, to save lives? And the first and foremost reason we would not be okay with that is because, number one, we don't believe that actually establishes justice like we're commanded to do. But the second reason, which I think is also a pretty compelling reason, is that we actually believe that the incremental bills, the incremental measures, that they concede the principle, and that by conceding principle, they're doing more harm than good. We're not opposed to taking incremental steps if we don't concede our principle, right? If we don't concede the principle of we are to establish justice, and what does justice look like by God's definition? So when we talk about it being immediate and being immediatists and being absolute, people call us absolutists or something. When we talk about abolition being immediate, we're not talking about being overnight. We're not saying it's going to happen overnight. We understand there will be steps. What we're saying when we say incrementalism or regulationism is we're saying that we shouldn't be regulating murder. And by regulating murder, we mean saying things like, well, this is how you can commit murder in law. And that's the way it is right now in Texas. There are rules that govern the allowable ways for you to murder a child. Right? Like, well, if you get a sonogram first, and you're in a center which is within X miles of a surgical center, and the hallways are X wide, and you have a licensed physician doing the work, and the mother consents. If all of those things are true, or it's less than 20 weeks old, if all of those things are true, then you can kill your child. And that's what we call regulated murder. So we're opposed to that because it regulates murder. It says, well, when applied to anything else, like a 3-year-old, it would be ludicrous to even think about this. Well, if the 3-year-old is really hard to handle, or if the 3-year-old, has a incurable disease, or if the 3-year-old, if there's not enough money for the 3-year-old to raise the 3-year-old properly, or if you've actually read a 5-page pamphlet instructing you on how 3-year-olds are human and deserve to live, if after all of those things you still want to kill your 3-year-old, then go ahead and kill your 3-year-old. That's principally what we're doing when we regulate abortion. That's principally what we're doing. And so we would oppose those. We think that does actually, in the long run, more harm than good. And the reason we think that is there's a principle at play here. And when you speak the words into law, we support banning abortions after there's a detectable heartbeat. Okay, well, yeah, that's good, right? Like, you don't want to kill children, so this would tell you not to kill children, and in that it's good, but what is unspoken there? Well, what's unspoken is the implication. By saying we want to stop abortion after there's a detectable heartbeat, what's unspoken is that we're okay with having abortions if there isn't a detectable heartbeat. And that's what makes this such a problem. Like, that is the unspoken principle there, is where we draw the line. We object to this because we think what's going on here is that our laws are lying about reality. The reality is that human life has dignity and worth before there's a detectable heartbeat. And if you put into law that it is okay to have an abortion by implication before there's a detectable heartbeat, you are actually teaching people that. You are instructing them that it is okay. And they think it's okay because of that. Well, the law allows me to do it. It must be okay. And furthermore, it actually undermines the very moral argument we're trying to make, as those who, all people who oppose abortion are trying to make. And that is that, number one, that abortion ends a human life. And that is called murder. That's called homicide. And that is actually wrong. Killing an innocent human life that has not committed aggression, that's actually something that's wrong to do. We should not do that. And when you pass a law that the implication of it is that it's okay to end human life before there's a detectable heartbeat, what you are saying is either one of two things. You are either saying that murdering humans is okay before they have heartbeats, or you are saying that those with no detectable heartbeats are not human. It's one of those two things. And both of those things they do unbelievable damage to our principles. So they undermine the very thing that we're trying to fight for. The dignity of humanity. And that humans are from fertilization, should be, or would have that dignity from fertilization all the way to death. It undermines that. And when you undermine your own arguments, you are doing yourself more harm in the long run than the short-term gains you're going to get from that. Because you're going to be teaching people, while you are saving those babies that you're saving, you're also instructing the next generation that you really don't have the principles and you're actually wrong in what you're doing, and then that will be repealed in the subsequent generation. So, okay, great. I'll grant you the premise. You're saving babies now. Now, I don't believe that. I don't actually think that's true, but I'll grant you that for the sake of argument. I'll grant you that. But in the next generation, you're going to lose. It's going to get repealed. So how much ground have you actually made? So in the long run, our opinion and our belief is that, and our conviction is that, in the long run, advocating for total and immediate abolition, which does not concede the principle, will do the best good in the long run, in addition to being the morally obligatory choice, and in addition to being what God demands of us.